Lawyers of 11 West African nationals deported from the United States fight off claims by governments they've been repatriated to their home countries. They insist they're still under detention. Also, will interrogate the former Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo's decision to head to the High Court challenging her removal as a justice of the Supreme Court. A lot later, the computerized school selection and placement resolution center inundated already with parents and students who are yet to get their placement into their preferred senior high schools. Hello there, it's a pleasure to have you join us yet another afternoon. This is News Central. I am Mawina Egbeta and the bulletin starts right now. Now, a former Chief Justice, or rather the former Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo, is in the High Court challenging her removal, not as a Chief Justice, but as a Justice of the Supreme Court. Madam Torkornoo, via a warrant signed by the President, was removed first as a Chief Justice and secondly as a member of the bench of Ghana's highest court. But according to her, the decision to remove her from the apex court is an illegality which must be corrected. In an application for a judicial review, she is challenging the president, or the powers of the president, to have her removed from the position of Justice of the Supreme Court. This afternoon, we're going to be walking you through the reliefs that she is seeking before the High Court in this judicial review and what really her arguments are in terms of what it is that she's seeking to have done. And so let's try and begin to get an understanding first off as to what it is that she's seeking to have the High Court do for her via this judicial review. And so we know, for starters, that this is the means through which whatever grievance she has, so that Article 146 committee, that 5-member committee, which was put together by the President to investigate some prima facie determinations made against her, she can't find reprieve from. And so she's gone to that appropriate forum, and here's what she's asking the court to do. The first is to declare that the President is devoid of power. Simply put, the President is not clothed or does not have the power to remove a Justice of the Superior Court without recourse to the mandatory procedure set out in Article 146 of the Constitution. And there's a reason for this, because she was removed as Chief Justice. In the processes which go through her removal as Chief Justice, a petition is taken to the President. The President, in consultation with the Council of States, determine whether or not there's a prima facie determination made against the Chief Justice. But that's not the same procedure as outlined in the Constitution when you want to remove a Justice of the Supreme Court. That process, however, involves a petition coming to the President and that petition being referred to a Chief Justice, a sitting Chief Justice. And so she's making the argument that the process under which the President has sought to remove her, that's not what the Constitution says. Hence, the President is not clothed with the powers to have done what he did. The second is that a declaration that the jurisdiction to hear a petition for the removal of a Justice of the Superior Court lies with the body properly constituted under Article 1464 of the 1992 Constitution. And here again, she's making reference to that process for removing a Justice of the Supreme Court, where the petition goes to the President, it's referred to who? The Chief Justice, and then that Chief Justice makes a prima facie determination and then subsequently will supervise the appointment of the committee, which will look into whatever petition has been brought against a member of the Supreme Court bench. And so that process, she argues, was not followed through. Then again, she's making she's seeking to have the court declare that the warrant for her removal by the president, executed on the 1st of September, removing her from office, and the applicant therein is the former Chief Justice from both the Office of Chief Justice and Office of a Justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, is unlawful. And so based on all of the arguments she's putting forward, she says that that warrant hence becomes unlawful, null, void, and of no effect. And then lastly, she wants an order of certiorari to bring into this honorable court for the purposes of quashing being quashed, and to quash same as being in violation of the mandatory provisions regarding the removal of a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature from office. And so that's the argument that the former Chief Justice is making with regard the processes for her removal, not as Chief Justice, but this time as a member of the Supreme Court bench. Let's get onto the phone lines right now and speak to lawyer John Quayson on the latest what we're seeing from the former Chief Justice. Counsel, I appreciate you speaking to us. Your thoughts on this judicial review application by the former Chief Justice? Some say she's broadening, possibly, the legal jurisprudence of the country by testing the waters on this matter. Where do you stand in this?
Good afternoon to your viewers also. Now, first off, I must commend Madame Tokono for this bold and giant steps that she's taken. Particularly so when she's a woman. In our part of the world, mostly women are not supposed to take certain bold decisions, especially in this fierce terrain of politics here and there. Now, if we are not careful, some might accuse her or blame her for not understanding the politics of the day. Everybody or majority would have wished that she goes home quietly, like it happened to the former EC boss. But you see, the step she's taken is commendable. We should all appreciate her. And if possible, if there's a need for most to support her, they should do so. Now, on the other hand,
right,
one might have also thought that, okay, now that it's become apparently clear that it's political, mostly, then you keep quiet and then allow the system to go. In your preamble, you did mention that people are praising that it will boost the jurisprudence of this country. Yet, when you come to the legal aspect also, we are saying that there are more aberrations, or she is saying that there are more aberrations regarding the procedure and the fact that substantively some of the provisions in the Constitution were not followed before the president came out with the declaration that she's been removed. Now, it will give the court the opportunity for the court to go through fully, come out with the nitty-gritties of the instances. As we speak, the matter itself has not been dealt with by the court. You understand? The whole process was done by a committee. Now, I was thinking that now that the opportunity had come, anyway, maybe because everything was a summarized one. Okay,
where it was an in-camera hearing, you mean?
Exactly. And with the three releases that she is taking, all have been summarized. I think the details will come out when they go to court. In the summary, I was thinking that it will come out as part of a summary that maybe some panel members did not qualify to be on the panel. And some also had conflict of interest.
Well, she's moved on from the argument or the concern about whether or not she should still remain in the position of Chief Justice. It appears she's not contesting that any longer, but she's contesting whether or not the processes which saw her removal as Chief Justice can be classified as constitutional to have her removed as a Justice of the Supreme Court. That's what she's contesting now.
Yeah, it's all part of what I was trying to say, that she didn't itemize them. Do you get it? What is before the court now is a summarized version of the whole thing. Do you get it? So if it comes out that everything was unconstitutional, then she's going to take another step also. Do you get it?
So
because if a court declares that the whole thing is unconstitutional, as a country, must we allow the unconstitutionality to continue? No. That aspect will have to be corrected. And that is why I'm saying, if you are saying that there are challenges with the procedure, okay, there are more to it. So therefore, the aspect that some persons were not supposed to have been on the committee and so on and so forth will all come up during the review process. Now, it's a very good exercise because it's now going to give our judicial setup or the court, okay, to clarify some of the issues that were not dealt with in the course of the review, the committee's work. This is the first time the matter is being put before the court. Before, it was like procedure or actions to stop the committee from doing its work and so on and so forth. I think she made few attempts. But this is where the matter is before the High Court to go into it a bit properly.
So 2 quick questions from me. You see this as possibly a long game which could see the courts declare the entire processes which saw her removal as a Chief Justice and then a Justice of the Supreme Court as unconstitutional, and then could see her return to the 2 positions. And then second as well, where do you stand in others who say that this is an interpretation matter and perhaps she should have gone to the Supreme Court for an interpretation as to whether or not she can still hold herself out as a Justice of the Supreme Court?
No, this is the first step. After the review, nothing prevents her from taking further steps and going to the Supreme Court for other interpretation. But for now, I think this is what she wants done. Procedurally, okay, if you are aggrieved and then you are not happy with the decision of the committee, this is the next step you are supposed to take by going for a review. And the review must be done at the High Court. The High Court and the committee, they all have the same level. But the committee doesn't have the powers for the review. So it's the High Court that must do that. And that is why she's taking this particular first step. But like I said, it's a very good step, a bold one as that. For us to know, the court will have the opportunity to actually analyze the issues and the procedure she is talking about, whether the government of the day did the right thing or there were some errors in it. And whatever the court will determine or say will be put on record, and it will form part of our jurisprudence in this country. So moving forward, everybody will be clear in their mind that this is the status of the law in Ghana. In future, when issues like that come up, this is how it's supposed to be dealt with.
Right then, Counsel, I appreciate you speaking to us. That's John Quayson, he's a constitutional lawyer, speaking to us this afternoon on the latest in terms of a judicial review application sought by the former Chief Justice, Gertrude Saba Tokonu, seeking to challenge her removal as a Justice of the Supreme Court. Not as Chief Justice, but as a member of the bench, because you're a member of the bench and then you could also be the one who leads the pack in terms of the judiciary. But let's move away from that and bring in some other stories right now, because contradictions are emerging over government claims on the whereabouts of some 14 West African nationals deported from the United States. President John Mahama, at a media interaction, revealed the agreement to have the 14 deportees brought in was purely on humanitarian grounds, while adding almost all of them have been repatriated to their countries of origin. Let's hear from the president.
It shows the tightening situation in our foreign relations, but I do think that we still enjoy good relations with the United States of America. We were approached by the U.S. to accept third-party nationals who were being removed from the U.S. And we agreed with them that West African nationals, were acceptable, because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came. Several of them were our Nigerian brothers. They opted to go back home, and so we put them on buses, to be able to go back home. One of them was a Gambian who it's not as easy. You have to get him an air ticket to be able to facilitate his travel. So what we've done is contacted their embassy to let them know of his presence so that they can facilitate his return to Gambia. And so that's the issue with regards to deportations and arrivals. West Africa has the protocol of free movement. And so any West African is free to come to Ghana and be able to stay for 90 days. And so if they decide to bring them, we don't have a problem accepting them.
Ghana's action was guided solely by our moral responsibility, our legal obligations under the 1992 Constitution and ECOWAS protocols, our distinguished Pan-African track record, and historic and legendary leadership in championing the rights of all Africans. Let me emphasize that under this understanding with the United States, Ghana must first independently vet the background of those the U.S. intends to deport, to first satisfy ourselves that they do not pose any threat to the security of our country and that they cannot harm our citizens. We have put in place strict safeguards to ensure that convicted, hardened criminals cannot be brought into our country under this understanding. The Mahama administration will never compromise the safety and well-being of Ghanaians. This understanding with the U.S. has been thoroughly discussed by Cabinet and has also received the Attorney General's advice. By established convention, MOUs are not sent to Parliament for ratification. I have inherited hundreds of MOUs from the previous administration, which were not sent to Parliament for ratification. May I assure the nation that if this initial understanding is elevated into a full-blown agreement, we shall not hesitate to comply with Article 75 of the 1992 Constitution by proceeding to Parliament for ratification.
That's the Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, but we already know that some 11 of these individuals are challenging their deportation to their home countries, alleging human rights abuses, amongst many other things. Well, in court today, lawyers told the Accra High Court that contrary to claims by the President and Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, they remain in detention in Ghana and have not been repatriated to their home countries. That's lead lawyer Oliver Baka-Vomo. He says that the U.S. deportees are seeking an injunction and a court order to prevent them from being repatriated to their respective home countries. And we know that the 11 West African nationals comprise of 4 Nigerians, 3 Togolese, 2 Malians, and 1 Gambian, and as well as a Liberian. Lord Edouard Sari was in court for us. Let's connect with him right now and get details quickly. as to what it is that has been playing out. Lord, interesting revelations today. Give us the full details as to how all of this came about in court today.
That Oliver Bakavoma was sought to move in court today. One was an injunction application, and the second was the application for habeas, or the writ of habeas corpus. Now, these two applications were filed ex parte, but the respondents that were named in it were the Attorney General, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Controller General. Now, he indicated that on 6th September, the 11 West African nationals that minor you outlined earlier, they were transferred or repatriated to Ghana and has been on detention since then. He says that they believe they are being held in a military base around Bundafe and other military bases. Now, he was hoping that the courts will first off grant the injunction application against the respondents from repatriating them to their home countries, because he believes that since they are transferred or deported to Ghana, they are still being held. And then the second was the habeas corpus, where he was hoping that they'll be brought before the court, adding that they are being held without any legal basis for their continuous detention, which has not been proven. And he also says that there's not been any court order to suggest their detention. And so he was praying the courts to move these two motions. But the presiding judge in the matter, Justice Priscilla Dikru Ofori, indicated that the motions have been filed ex parte. There's a need for the respondents to be included so that they can actually respond. But then Oliver said that time was of the essence, and that they are being held per the law is well over 48 hours, and so they should have been put before the court by now, for which reason he wanted to move that application.
Do we know, did the lawyers reveal in court today? Right, Lord.
I'm not, I can't really hear.
Can you hear me now?
Hello? Yeah, this is better.
Yes.
So after making the case, the judge indicated that she would have to stand the case down, essentially adjourn it for the substantive judge, because she was sitting in for the judge who should have been hearing the case on that matter. And so she adjourned the matter to September 23 for the consideration of the two motions, which was the application for the injunction and then the writ of habeas corpus by the lawyers of the West African nationals, Marina. One thing that was clear was that he cited, whilst he was making the deliberation, he cited that the president in his media engagement, and that's what you played earlier, he stated in court that the president in his media engagement told the whole country that they have been repatriated to their home countries. And again, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Okujo Ablakwa, reiterated saying, but this is the situation where they are still in the country. And so that injunction application that he wanted to move was to restrain the government from going ahead with that repatriation, Marina.
Right then, Lord, as always, thank you very much for those details. Lord Iduasare is my colleague for us in court this afternoon, and we're taking a trip outside of the capital to the Ashanti region. And as you know, all of the Asante Kingdom is mourning the death of the Asantehemaa, where tradition is currently being displayed as the Otumfuo Tutu II is seated all throughout the week. Different rites are being performed, have been performed, and will continue to be performed for the late Asantehemaa. We're taking you right now to the Ashanti region, where my colleague William Evans Zinkum has been stationed along with a team dedicated to covering what many of you have described as very rich tradition currently being on open display for the entire country. We're expecting a number of dignitaries as well to be present today, where that ceremony is currently ongoing, and we'll connect with Evans right now to begin to get an understanding of what is happening, what is expected to happen, what has happened already during the course of the week, and then the way forward as well, with respect to what it is that we know about the Asantehemaa. But William, if you can hear us, it's just me today. Talk to us about what it is that's happening right now.
All the paramount chiefs will have to rise to welcome the king. So the king is currently moving to the dais or to his platform where he will be seated, and of course he will be receiving some greetings from the guests, and of course all his paramount chiefs will also walk to him and then greet him, and that will kickstart the entire event, or if you like, the climax of it. But very soon we will be speaking to one of the paramount chiefs in the Ashanti region, and that is the paramount chief for Adankreja, Nana Opon Frema. But before we talk to Nana Opon, let's just watch as the king majestically move to the platform where he will be seated. That is the bedroom, or the Simpieso, as it is called in the Akan Palace. So the king has arrived, and as you can hear the rhythms of the phantom from, all the paramount chiefs are up, and that is what the tradition demands, that all the paramount chiefs will be upstanding until the king is seated before they can also take their respective seats. So exactly what we are saying here. So I can tell you that gradually we are inching closer to the climax of the dossier. Once the king arrives, then he will be taking some pleasantries from his paramount chiefs. Then, of course, he will also take pleasantries from the guests. Of course, already the former Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, has arrived. The former President of the Republic, John Ajekun Kufuor, His Excellency, has also arrived. Then we expected the arrival of the President and of course the Vice President. But now the King, Tunfor Osei Tutu II, has arrived in his palanquin, and we are seeing an avalanche of culture, culture at its best, and exactly what we are saying here. And it is known that Ashanti region is the epicenter of culture, of the rich Ghanaian culture, and exactly what is being displayed here. So the Asantehemaa is inching closer to where he will be seated, and like I said early on, he will be receiving some pleasantries. The moment he sits, the royals will also queue to greet him before the guests follow suit. That is what we are going to see. And as usual, the king is showing kola nut. Kola nut because it is a difficult time for him. It is a trying moment for the king. And the reason why he's seen showing kola nut. As usual, the king still wore the Kuntunkuni Sedia. That is the name of his regalia. Kuntunkuni Sedia is the name of his regalia. And of course, it is also embossed with two Adikra symbols. One is Jinyame, that is only God. Then the second one is Emredane, and that is time changes. So these are the two Adikra symbols embossed in the king's Kuntunkuni Sedia. And it connotes one thing, that it is a difficult moment for the king. So the king is seated, and very soon he will be receiving some pleasantries. But we will be speaking to some of the paramount chiefs, and already we have the paramount chief for Asantehemaa, who will also be giving us a bit of history and also be giving us some tutorials as far as the rich Asante culture is concerned. But now that the king has arrived, I can tell you that we've now gotten to the climax of the dossier. We've gotten to the climax of the dossier. The burial service will soon begin, and then the other rituals will also continue from there. But we will be engaging the paramount chief for Asantehemaa, and as tradition demands, before you can walk to the chief, the linguist will have to inform him and then give him briefings why we want to meet him, and that one has been done. So now that it is done, we have to remove our slippers and then walk to the chief before we can engage him. So it is not as easy as you probably will see it on TV. You have to go through some processes before you can get to the chief. So now we are walking to the paramount chief for Asantehemaa, Nana Opon Frima, to really understand culture. Nana memao aha.
Ya me de.
Menim se enibre aba.
No kre.
Nana kan wabakọ sem kakra pa kire yen. E wo TV3 so.
Oh, me ni Nana Opon Frinyam. Asantehemaa manhene. Me ye otumfo manhene. Na oba otumfo asetre mu na meka nifafo no ho a meka me ye nifa na Asantehemaa aye tete te se de kan oduma kuma bo ade na Asantehemaa ho ewura o se tutu o chichire Asantehemaa no Asantehemaa o de Asantehemaa nyina ka ho no mo de chichire Asantehemaa.
So Nana is telling us a bit of history. Of course, he has established that he is a paramount chief and he has sworn an oath of allegiance to the Asantehemaa. When Asante was formed, Asantehemaa was part of the formation, and that is what Nana had just told us. Nana Hima Eko Bremai and Bibi Kakra Bena Betria Kafa Nana Hima home.
Oh, kakra metima kan say enia nyina ye mame ba se ye ko agene kra kanu kreni nka ye bebo modena ko agene kra nanso wu kurade a enkwanti menye enti senia samre de woko breman de ye nyina di nyankopon se onko de nyankopon kukum na nyankopon vanisie emoma ya de a asemato Asantehemaa pa nemum samre se ne esi aduru a ede ne ko breman de e ma no kose se o kakan na nanom ho na nyankopon to mfa ni kra ensie na onko dai na Abraham akukum
Nana Kafra Piao. All right, so we just engage Nana Asantehemaa. Nana. Yes, Nana. All right, Nana Opomano asem.
Who them Pumano Emiunu, one with the Emitrono.
Nana no kwasem.
Bako Asantehemaa. Okwa ya manse pemre. Wachino. Ekurano. Kwantina Asantehemaa hine de ye ne puma. Say amanse pemre. Wachino ekurano.
All right.
Bako nso e ka hono nso onso de nsa bako aso nani. Or bako akire na so. O kire ze nti de ekoso nyina no. Wani ehunu a wasonso ante ana eya katabebuo kese pa Asantehemaa hene nkwa na ekura sa apoma we mienu e wa Asantehemaa mu ha.
Nana Piao. All right, so Nana was talking about the staff which of course I will just show you very soon. And these are the stuff that Nana was making reference to. And we understand that he is the only person who carry this staff. And these staff are carried by the linguist. Okay, so this is a snake, and there's a man sitting on a staff holding the snake. It communicates a profound, or it makes a profound statement, and Nana gave us a bit of history about that. We will be taking you through in our subsequent bulletin because of time, but just so you also know that we are learning a lot of, culture, tradition. We are learning a lot from here, Menshia Jabrim. But among the paramounts, all of them are wearing the kuntunkuni tuntum, or if you like, the black cloth. But only 2 paramounts or paramount chiefs are allowed to wear white. And that is the Agona gates, they are allowed to wear white. But why do they wear white? And exactly what we will be finding out. Let's say, and I want to believe that the necessary rituals have been already performed. So now we have the leeway to engage the chief of Agona. And I understand that he's also kicked the bucket. So he's being represented by one of his sub-chiefs. That is the chief of Agona. So, as usual, I will have to remove my slippers and then walk majestically to the chief. Now, the linguists will have to come, and of course, they are clear directive, and we have to follow. We cannot go overboard, and exactly what the linguists drew our attention to. So we will majestically walk to Nana for Nana to also tell us why everybody here is in black, but Nana is in white, and of course together with his kingmakers, and exactly what we really want to find out. So majestically, we will have to ask for permission before we can get to Nana, and now we have the permission, so we can talk to Nana. Asantehemaa yachiao. Nana yachiao. Nana mi se die obi e busa ne se wo hwe eye bedwai mu a obi e fra tuntum. Nanso nananom de modie no akoye fitaa. Nana eho abakosam kakra bi wo ho.
Medasi. Abakosam wo ho ne se de yin Agona no. Se be Nana se tu. Nana konfonachi na cheche de Asantehemaa. Nti bibia ya ensonsone ye bem. Ye akonfo pita no sabe litire ni Agona konfonachi ekomhire. Nti bibia o ye bia no amane dance ma manfo hunu se oni anu nti na sabe Asantehemaa nyina hia ye Agona konfonachi kuro nyina ayi fita wa sese.
Nana wadaoma ene Asantehemaa yedne ko breman bibi kakra ben na betimi akafa Asantehemaa ho
ye metima kan se ye Nana Asantehemaa de o ye sronko obaye sabi obi anti asemboni bia no ho ogini manyina sene dia sabi sene yami atron sa frɛ no a de me kan se ye man ko se e man dem ne fadua radio mfane sie ye man
Asantehemaa so beka bibi kakra. All right. We've gotten some education. Why Nananom here are all wearing white, and they trace their roots to the dreaded fetish priest Komfo Anokye. History tells us how Komfo Anokye ensured that Asantehemaa comes together. And of course, if we are to talk about Komfo Anokye, then of course you are talking about the unification of Asantehemaa. Komfo Anokye was the one who commanded the golden stool, and that is the soul of the Asantes. So Komfo Anokye has played an integral role when you are talking about the building of the Asante Kingdom. Asante Kingdom. All right. So, all right. So Nanano will not let me live until they are captured. All right. So now we have the permission. We have the permission to live. So Nanano here, Agona Nanano here, they trace their road to Konfanoche, the man who commanded the golden stool, the Sikada from the skies, and that is the soul of Asantehemaa. We will engage one more paramount chief before we call it a wrap and join you together in our subsequent bulletins. So now we are going to the paramount chief of Beposo. Beposo Mahine will be our guest now. We are talking to him, learning culture, learning history, understanding the dynamics of what we have, and that is our heritage. So as usual, the chief linguist has already informed Nana, so we have the permission to get to Nana and then engage Nana. But as courtesy and custom demand, I will have to remove my slippers before I can get to Nana and also engage him. Once the chief linguist has informed him, it means, yes, we will be allowed an entry to get to Nana. All right. Nana, where do you Yako? Nana, Beposo Mahine. Nana, can be Kakrache, Efa Wakunya, Jumedie, Sonkwa Sudi, Ebwa Yura.
Beposo Akuyano, Beposo, Secre, Beposo, Secre. Na Uba Hifiha, you Nifa Feku. Did you maybe brave, but Fekuno, you Nifa, or 2 for Transia. They say, 2 for Transi, also Nifa Suni.
Nana, Bibika Kraben, Abekafa, na Asantehemaa.
Asantehemaa way there. High papa. Oba, if you watch it. Neka him say be our veteran so abroad there. And so I were there, Yami Pen Warrior. Why not for me, dear? Why be? Yami actually suffering. You never can. The best try say, Yami funny cry, see ye, my so that actually be a no, you know, I could share.
Nana, Yabasama Yakubio. All right, so that was Nana Beposo Mahine, whom we just engaged, giving some fond memories about Nana Asantehemaa. And like I said earlier on, we are learning a lot. We are learning a lot. We are learning a lot. Every single stool that you find here has a unique history. Every stool has a unique heritage. And exactly what we are saying here. So, in the midst of all the conversation, we also hear the rhythm, the sound of the frontal probe. And here we are going to the chief of Ascore. They are all paramount chiefs. They are all paramount chiefs. They are all paramount chiefs. They are among the over 70 paramount chiefs who have sworn allegiance to the golden stool. So if you say the golden stool, then of course we are talking about Sikadja. If we are talking about Sikadja, then of course we are talking about Otufo Nyamekasia, the king of the Asantes, Otufo Seitutu II. And here's the king we are talking about. And these are the very distinguished traditional leaders who serve the king, our king, Otufo Seitutu II. So, as usual, the chief linguist for Nana has already informed him, and we can engage Nana to also understand his tool and what specifically he does for Otufo Seitutu II. So, all right. So at the juncture, you have to kneel before you can engage Nana. Nana, Yamamoyako.
Yeah.
Nana, ubeka bibi kakra apo wakunya ne ho akyerɛ yɛn. Na afei so dwumadi a wodima yɛwura Asantehemaa.
Okay. I from Osabarama Asantehemaa Boama. I'm a toss me and son. But Nana should be called Asante. Nana so go he and I'm going to say. Meaning to go to him. Na Asokore the Yachicha Asantehemaa Asokore ka ho. Asokore ay 14 paramonsi in Asantehemaa. Na Asokore akwa yekoyi nyina no ayeji Asantehemaa si ho Asokore ka ho. Eti ohwemu a Asokore enam esan Asokore ruonti otufo bokorai the second e de yekotra ye ne jama afọ ko wie no aye pam jama afọ ko Africa so no Asantehe obokorai de Asokore ene kotra brekum se ye kohwe ho na enye barrier na se jama afọ no ba na ya starting toko na asana yako eti Asokore brekum ya Asokore enka ne brekum dia na ye fe na Asokore brekum eti Asokore fo ene di brekum akonya Asokore fo ya so ne kochechi nu dwabe ko fo Asokore that's Asantehemaa mu dia ko fo Asokore brekum na ya Asokore kru a ye na ye hweso ma otufo
Nana mo piao na hema na hema ekobreman bibi kakra ben na obeka fa eye na hema ho
na hema obedi ade na enche 8 years there's the impact no ebo 8 years the tuma na ma meti ase na wa ya bro na nyina no dey friend na pani a wa soma Asantehemaa nyina obia obama manhia bia efi bebe 60 years ago na nim said nana e friend no ai nana pani asa na obeta ko yan so yi ne ba ta pa ene na yemu ya oyema obia no obia Asantehemaa nyina yanom ne nofo na yese ura wa pra Asantehemaa no ebro yenti ase so eti na nyakopa afa na yese so onkoja no asomdwem jojo
na hima beka bibi kakra na all right eti yane eye Nana Asokore mahene so na atwetwe nkomo we just engage the paramount chief of Asokore and he's also been giving us a bit of history. At least what we have learned now is that they once upon a time fought to secure the establishment of the Asante Kingdom. They fought the Germans and ensured that they secured the territory of the Asante. We've also learned that they also have a linkage with Brekum. Brekum is in the Bono region, and that is to say the Brekum stool is also theirs. And that tells you the expansion of territories as far as the Asante Kingdom is concerned. Already I told you that we have about 70 or over 70 paramounts under the great king Otumfuo Osei Tutu II. Now we are going to talk about war. If you are talking about war, then you are talking about the Sagrenti War. If you are talking about the Sagrenti War, as it is widely known, then you are talking about the warrior Nana Ya Asantewaa. If you are talking about Nana Ya Asantewaa, then you are talking about no other place than Ejoso. Ejoso has a history. Ejoso has a heritage. Ejoso, you cannot talk about Asante without talking about Ejoso. And that's the conversation we are going to have. So Ejoso is being represented by the chief of Bonre. And if you are talking about Bonre, that is the hope of the rich Kente crop. And exactly what we are going to talk about now. So as usual, Nana has been informed about our coming. Now we have the permission to engage Nana. We are going to talk about Ejoso, the Sagrenti War. We are going to talk about Bonre Kente. So we will walk to Nana. and then engage Nana Bonrehene. Yeah. Nana Yamayako. Nana Yaka Josodia. Urega say Joso Aya Asantehemaa San. Joso Jumedia Udia Ma Asantehemaa Asantebeya Asante. Nana dia una unima mamre na unim tete asemono. Boyan komo kakra. Edia na majoso joso na yewra ya ba wura bonre wa ukro.
Yo no fra Asante Emre biduri na Asante ne ho ahia e ba eni abrofo no ntokwa no edru baabi na ni daso ni baabia enso ohima kugodrofo Ejusohima na ya Asantoa bidani tuo esi Asantehemaa nyina se yam prenta ema agosi broni ema mefa sikadwa emfa mfria emfa nkomrofo abrochimamu tiene ne bekuntokwa odi animu ama yekuntokwa ama nkunim die bai sa bakosem no enei eyi ejusu firi abakọ Asante abakosem mu a enye yie ana ya Asante ona ntime benkum so no onu anie onu no asan akwa aba etimema onu so de bia to aso medamase bebre
Nana ya that say so not too long ago Nana ya Asantehemaa, the brave, the Queen Mother who ensured that the golden stool is still alive because she fought well, she fought against, and that was the second war against, the whites, aside the Amanfo war. Nana, Joso esan tokwa, wokon ya jisika dwa esi ho. Nana boya nkoma kakra. Obebisa se edie na ehye unkran. Ema wo ye se ubedi domanim na wakon aje sikadwa e dia ma Asantehemaa.
You are here for me that was sick. Ya be ma ye nyina ye ho so ya akọ. Saya nana brakope a woni ye ho agro enenne. Ya ni doti ye krakrai. Dia ma me nana. She ema wo hye ni unkran ni se na mema ni nyina tete wo. Na wo hwe akosi broni wo firi ni krom so be fa sikadwa akọ. Na mema isuro no ma ye ma. Timi nana to sa no sorry no se adan. Ena mo trama kosi broni sabi o mo dantanshe pieto obefa sikadwa akọ ti samon sorry ame ya Asantehemaa de me sorry timi na okun ahin na ya na bebe o msi krokro hinko nye krokro hinko eye hinko enu okun ye e de je sikadwa si
Nana ene ya bresui e de na wo se yensu ye se ne be ya Asante yeso betimi abo eye ya Asante ho ban na fe ya kan ya Asante ho so nsem e de a kire amanfo
de be ya de abo ho ban ni asase obi ya eduru awukude eduru akoside sabe Asante fo no krankola n bebre ni awukude ni makoside omo menhia hifie na ye mesua amamre ni amanne sabe ne woni ka so obi amie story obi ankodwom se ankodwom ena juso ataidi obi ankodwom omu nyina di machi aba nto omu de banom de abesua amamre ni amanne de obehu so no okwa sabe obakọ kabi e de akire ne ma ene ne nananom se se na Asante te se de yedi agona ne medi na ya Asanto achi ko menhia no eno ma amakohu kete ya yeboyi e wase asa yese e obia ne na se kire ni nyina omba e oma behu to mbenya bi akoka akire obuma ene omo
nana medase na mi ja okra em se na Asantehemaa ene ne kobre man ni se nana de na open pa bibi kakra be na be kafa na Asantehemaa ho
Asantehemaa ɛyɛ ɔbaatan kɛseɛ a ɔdɔ ne mma nyinaa na me deɛ mɛka sɛ meyɛ asantoa deɛ na ɔdɔ me kyɛn obiara kyerɛ sɛ da bia mɛkɔ na Asantehemaa obiara meba a ɔma me sika na ama mpɔhene wuyɛ yi me deɛ mekɔkra me wura na makɔ mekɔ a wɔ sɛ ei na adwo so mɛyɛkɔ na mohwɛ no monkɔ dɛm na mokɔpɛ biribi mmerɛ no sika ɔde maa me na ɛnyɛ sika ketewa enti bebree se Asantehemaa bi ɔbɛbɛ bi apɛm asɛm ɛyɛ ma ho braseɛ ɛne sɛdeɛ mesi som si de fa ɛna Asantehemaa bi ɔbɛbɛ bi a ɔpɛm asɛm enti me nko ayɛ asantoa deɛ ɛdi ayɛ me mesrɛ obia so obia mesu bi ma me na Asantehemaa afi biaa na ɔyɛ party ma yɛn okɔ awo ntoma wɔn firi sɛ pɛfu na hyɛ ntoma no rɔdi ama yɛ yɛda n'ase mesrɛ gye Nyankopɔn sɛ wɔfa ne ntena gya Abraham ne kukum ɛma me na menim sɛ daakye biara no yɛbɛsan ne no ahyia
nana meda ase na wɔde mene na ewie nana yɛbɛba bɔwie na bɔwie so deɛ yɛba na deɛ ne yɛbɛhwɛ nana
bɔnwerɛ ɛyɛ kente sɛdeɛ nyina anim no tete no ɛna nanom nkɔhu ananse kɛseɛ ɛwɔ yɛ kwawe mmea fɛ na wia kɛseɛ ho ɛhɔ ne ehu sɛ ananse wɔyɛ dɛ wɔde ntentan ɛnwene biribi kuragu ne ameyaw me na nanom asonafoɔ ɔmo de baafie besuae egu nsa na nanom taa ɔmo akyi ɛna kente bɛfiri bɔnwerɛ ɛnɛ wokɔ bɔnwerɛ yɛ kra bɛhwɛ yakwan kama yɛwɔ court yɛwɔ museum yɛwɔ normal police station normal bebrebe na aba bɔnwerɛ yɛsrɛ sɛ aban a waban so ɔnsa mɛyɛ bi nka ho ehia normal bebrebe aban no ntwena nim hɛ bɔnwerɛ na nam kente nti sɛdeɛ bɔnwerɛ din akɔ wiase man mu nyinaa no aban no mɛboa yɛ ɔmmra na yɛnso yɛnkyɛ ne deɛ ehia ɛne dwu so nyinaa na ɔmmɛboa yɛ ne yɛnkyekyerɛ Asanteman.
Thank you very much, Nana. So we've been engaging the Paramount Chief. Nana, who will TV class that? All right. So thank you very much, Nana. Yes, thank you very much, Nana. All right. All right. So that was Nana Asantehemaa II, the Queen Mother of Ejoso. And Ejoso has a peculiar history. Ejoso in the 1900s, the first Queen Mother of Ejoso, Nana Asantehemaa, ensured that the golden stool will not leave Asantehemaa when the whites or the colonial masters had attempted to snatch or steal the golden stool. It was Nana Asantehemaa who ensured that it will never touch the land of Asantehemaa, and that is a bit of history there. So we are still bringing you live pictures from Menchia, and that is the sound of Ponto from. Of course, it is the sound of our time, and we are still engaging our revered Paramount Chiefs who have gathered here to commiserate with the overlord of the Asante Kingdom, and that is the Ofenso, the Paramount Chief of Ofenso. And I can tell you, currently Ofenso is among the few places that you will not find or you not see any illegal mining. Ofenso is among the few places that you will not hear or see. That is Ofenso for you. So a bit of history, and that's the point.
Ewa Akuma FM so a ma yenka wo se ene dotiye no hyase kwasiada anajo na ye womu a de chen dwoada na ye bie kwan bra ye wura tena ase na ye bie kwan ma wona omo eba bejam yen we Asantehemaa nti na meka ne saa no na mmom yewura na ne nyinaa si ne nan so enti no se wo hwe free juada benada ukuada eba besi ena amamre ne amane ahodo pii na atodwa enei ebi wo ho a ye hwe bie na ne nyinaa no ama na ye fe enim se ne oba Greater Kumasi na Kumasi ankasa schools nkwada ene mi ehso so bia te hu bia wo hwe de ekọ na onu nso sua bibia afiri mu enu nti no edu bebi na nananom edi nsusie bi ba wo hwe yi a ebe di ubebe afianza na watimi ati ase enti enei de ene bi ha wo kan na nyina no kowie se ne nkwada no anka sabre bi akomo classroom a ka sabre nka enkonta no musia no eno mu nyina wo fie a o show nua TV a o sua mamre ne amane ai mampani Excellency John Dramani Mahama one ne nasoafo binum na uhu omo so ba bedru ya onso so oba na His Excellency John Dramani Mahama waba betia yewura na wama yewura yakọ na wama yeshedin one the acting Chief Justice na one no na mo a wo hwe no ene empanimfo aka wo mo so ba beja no ebinom a yehu omo no ye maame ma hu ye maame betimodi drusu wono kwa abere de hye enti ono so ya santini nti wo hu se emfoni ba ye no na ono so di animu a odi mampani nanim na mampani eba no no so aba betia Santehene na wama ne yakọ ne hyeden enti na me ka dot yie na sem na bila ma yenti ase kakra ye besa babio na aba behwe mfoni a ehwe na mom dot yie no yenyi no mfiri ho na obi afe na ono so wa hye ase ahwe ya na otie ye no ono so ate ase dot yie na ye ka nyina no eno ye den
dot yie no a ye ka no se mo amuka Bible no mo se enso ebakwa nsum na dot ya ko dot ye mu sanse Bible na kire mu se wode dot ye na anwene onipa nti ebra ye sie obrempon no ana se okuni no ye gya no kwa mra ko ne dot ye mu enti ye ne ye wo abusua ni ala do se anopa ne se funda ho no eno na ye hui sanse yan ya de ye wi de ye ne to aso na nanom de bra ya ye we no ye wi a ye wie agese bi a ye si ohema foforo na opea oseme ye yie nti ohene bi afiri mu a na brempon bi afiri mu a we ni ye digya no kwan ni esi na chi ohen foforo a na so ohene no pea na obeya yi ankasa ompenso a wetimi gya no sa nti ne kan se dot ye no eye ni sie a ye kosie no nanso ye ne se yie sanse ye ne ye prekon na kobase ya nsa anye biemu a na se ye wie nti dot ye no se ye sie no we na kwankogya
nti na bila metiase a after dot ye no so person osan ye yi foforo bi mo betumi aye me ho no asa kire ma adwene kakra
akwan wo ho na onum se we dia bibia gina ye wura na so enti wo ye we wi a wa wie na emom se nka bia brempon bi anasa manhima bi na afiri mu a ye we na wie no ye si ne hima foforo a opea obetuma ye ne de hye no a obesi na nan no ayie ba we dia ye wura wo wie a wa wie wo ye ne preko enti wo hwe nsa a eba ne bibia a kire se wo wie wo ya onye bio wie wo ya wonye bio nti de oba aka kire ne se obehwe na sinamu na waji no ama Asantehemaa ne anya ya hema
na o kasa no na wo ka wo mo de adesiedie ene ho ne ema eba wada woroma wo bi bebi sase hwan mo ene wo akwanya se wo betumi de adesiedie aba obi a de tumi de ba na
wo hwe de ya ne ye no wo ye ne abusua mu a ye ne saa abusua no na si won so ti ansa ne ebebie kwan ma adesiedie bia no abusua kan bɛkyerɛ wɔn deɛ na abusua kyerɛ wɔ wie a kwan ada hɔ ama ankorankora obi a wonim no hɔ a wodɔ no wopɛ no asɛm bia na yɛdwuma da bia wotena ne nkyɛn daniel deɛ wɔsɛ ɔde gya no kwan no na wode abɛntim na sɛ wohwɛ yɛ a ahohoɔ pii de wɔn so deɛ bae ɛsiane sɛ dodoɔ na firi akyiri na ɛbaayɛ nti ɔmo yɛ ne sika ba binom nso wɔ hɔ nom a bi a ɔba a ɔkuta bi adwan bi so ho sɛ yɛmfa ɛnyɛ amammerɛ yɛmfa nya yɛ nana kwan obi wɔ hɔ nom a ɔkuta ne nsa bi a pɛntu nsia bi a pɛntu mmienu pɛntu nan yɛka pɛntu bi a ɛyɛ mmienu nti yɛka srada a ɛyɛ baako nti na ɔnya ne dabɔ bi ɔnya ne hyɛ ntiadeɛ no biribi a na sɛ bi a sika kakra a na ɔde ato so yɛmfa nya nana kwan nnura sɛ yi dwamfoɔ ma san sɛ na ahema ɔna adwa nyinaa yɛre deɛ nti dwamfoɔ ba ɛba bɛkyerɛ wɔn adeɛ ɛde kyerɛ yɛ nana sɛ ɔmo deɛ ɔyɛ ama bi ɔmo ani sɔ na ɔmo da so so kae no nti ɛsaa na te obiara tumi de ne deɛ ba nti wo a wote akura sɛ ɔyɛ ready sɛ ɔde bi bɛkɔ a nananom ɛmpo yɛbɛsom na yɛaka ma wiase nyinaa hu sɛ wo nso baeɛ no woama no kwa woaba yi biribi ahyɛ yɛ nana ahema animonyam
anabila yɛda ase nti Ghana mampanin His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ɛna ɔne ne asɔfo nso asɔfo no bi a wɔn efiri Asantehemaa ntam ha dodoɔ na so ka ho bi mahu the defense minister deputy ɛyɛ yɛayɛ nua Broja Jamfi ɛne afoforo bi aka IGP the Inspector General of Police yɛwura yɛhonu ɔno nso ɛna aba abɛkyia already nso na acting chief justice ɔno nso ba bɛkyia na ɔno no ɛnyɛ deɛ di kan a ɔba ha nie ɛnra na ɔno nso so ne judicial service fɔ no wɔ ha wɔn nso ba bɛkyia yɛ nti nɛ mampanin abɛn nɛ sɛ wɔn nso aka ho prɛko na wɔn akyia na biribi ayɛ kamakama the former vice president His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia ɔno nso so ba bɛkyia na bibia akɔ so posifoɔ mpanimfoɔ na wohu sɛ wɔn gu so a wɔn kyia no nti ɛnɛ na kyerɛ sɛ dwumadie no a egu so a ɛkɔ soɔ no ɛna wɔhyɛ ɛwɔ yes ɛna the former second lady yes yɛ maame Samira Bawumia nti ɛno ɛna wɔhyɛ yi na sɛ esi adeɛ Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo nso His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo Ghana mampanin dada ɔno nso so ɛna ɔmo sɛ ɔne ɔno nso ne dɔm ato santen a wɔnom ɛkɔ akɔkyia akyɛ sɛ ɛfɛ pa sɛdeɛ kan dɛ no sɛ wobrɛ yɛma wobrɛ sɛdeɛ no a yɛhu sɛ yɛ parliamentarians no ɛba bɛkyiaeɛ no ne sɛ wantimi ama ne no ɛsɛ ɛbɛyɛ den mampanin dada na maka mampanin dada His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor ɛno madi kan ka sɛ ɔno deɛ wɔyɛ de hyɛ nti no dwumadie ahyɛseɛ nyinaa no ɛkae sɛ dwoada no na ɔwɔ ha dwoada no mehu no ha yɛ ɔno nso ɔkɔ akɔkyeɛ nti sɛdeɛ nhyehyɛeɛ no teɛ no ɛnɛ wɔn a yɛhyɛ anim sɛ wɔnom bɛkyia no anɔma bɛkyia yɛwura na ɔmama no yɛakɔ na ɔmama no hyɛ den bɛsɛ kremodak na abasa na kyerɛ sɛ saa na tie nti ne nyinaa no yɛ amammerɛ a ɛda die nnɛ nti sɛ wohyɛ yɛ ne a afei ɛna ama mpanimfoɔ dadaa ɛsɛ yɛ vice president former no deɛ Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia ɔno nso so ɛka ho bi a ɔmo nyinaa bɛkyia ɛdi kan no na His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana John Dramani Mahama ɔne n'asoafoɔ ɛnso so aba abɛkyia nokwasɛm ne sɛ asoafoɔ no bi wɔ ha dodoɔ no nso firi Asantehemaa ntam ha enti wohu sɛ Works and Housing Minister na ɔka ho bi ɛna ebinom yɛ CEOs ɛne other appointees a ɔmo nso yɛbɔ ɔmo din a ɔmo nyinaa no nso so aba abɛkyia nti wɔawohu yi yɛankasa maame Faustina Derry ɛne wokɔ NHIS a ɛhɔ no ɔno nso so wɔwɔ ɔno nso aba abɛkyia mehu sɛ Obama Nana Asare Ako Obama mo nyinaa aba abɛkyia wɔn nyinaa no yɛ Asantehemaa adehyia a wɔn edi ɛka mampanin ho ɛba abɛkyia yɛ ɛfɛ enti se uguso a wo hwe ye ne a mate se se aso no TV3 abeka ho a ye live on so ewo TV3 any wo nua sanso na all your platforms social media platforms so ko a obehu de ekoso ewo menhia eye na Asantehemaa nana ama konadu yi ademotoso miensa ne doti ye ene na ne pomponso ye de ba na wieye na afei de toaso a eno so ya kwantuo foforo a ebe hye ase na akwa wie breman no eno so atoaso enti nana bila minim se de ekoso nyina no yes yenhye said ye nananom aman hene ene optufo abrempon ana minim se fekuo no so no enso so atena say na ya na wo mo entena ya na say omo enhyehyɛ ya no ya na sitie
yo John me da se so hwehyehyɛ ya na aman hene no de se medika se omo di omo ho enti aman hene no omo ya no mo tena bre no ɛyɛ soronko nti bo se uduru ha aman hene kro no na ya de bibi asinanim a entwerɛ wɔ so akyerɛ aman hene kro a ho ɛyɛ na tena ye aman hene bia nso na brempɔnfo a ɛka ne ho ya de no to nkyɛn akumase traditional council so ne ya kyekye ne fekuo ya wo jase ya wo akwamu ya wo adonten ya wo benkum ya wo nifa ya wo kontre no ne ade oba kontre fekuo na bafo bantama hene na ɛdawa no okɔ akwamu a ɛyɛ asafo hene na ɛdawa no enti saa ne ya hyɛhyɛ no enti obi owo fekuo no bia no kɔ masetena mu a de ɔdawa no timfimfini na abrempɔfo aka no etini benkum ne nifa wono so na setena mu no wo ni benkum no wo ni nifa nti saa no muso tena no nti saa aman hene no de mo no mo nkokyea ye wura bi omba o mbetena se no mo nkofo abetwa ne ho ahia nti sania dom atitru nam dwomu kokyea ye wura no o mo so dwomu nkyia ewo nkyɛn o mo dwomu nkyia ewo nkyɛn mi no kasai makɔ eye kontre feku mo akɔkyea eye nana bantuma hene achia wona kan ho ye amache bare kuma hene tumfo brempo owo fekuo num ono so eka ho saa so na ukọ jase a na na bua basa na da jase a no ukọ ye akwamu a asafo hene na da wa no akwamu ha nifa ye na na bo chansa da bra wonya na ba beko na asko mampo hene wona da nifa fekuo na no nti sese ya woni hoide kwantakase yewura ono na ebesi na namu nyesa osi na namu akunya so nemu omo tena se yesei no ono obetena se won pani a wo hwe akire enti saa na atena se na te nti so hwe a yewura na brempofo na aka no ukọ ba bi yewura tena ankasa wo mu atini benkum ni fa na akini ye ono mo tena se enti ni benkum wo ho ni nifa wo ho ni jase gbabasa ye ni jase ana osan fekutire ti sabre we bu abasa obetena ni wura enchen enti ni fakuo no omo so betena se na obi ahwe na chi wo ho ama no oba me mi wura sei ono so e wo fakuo da no ene dia ne ye asokwane akyeremade aman hene ni abrempo ba dio nsia na mi wura kofinti odawa no na so mo tena sei no a ono tini wura nchen san so ye ni wura chiame enti ye so ono tena ni wura nchen ti fakufo no so obi aba bia obetena nti saa na ete enti no atrasia no ba na chinie na sisi wona esunobia faku bia wona de eye lie by lie saa na ete enti ohwe nipa ejirejira ntenten dodo na enyu obia na ebehwe ade ne keke omudi himfu ne bia chi na baaye na ba bia ede ma omu no omu nyina ntimi nkoho ti bo hu obi ha wa nya kunya ntena so no ape ba bia agina bo so a onya kunya kura na nche ba bi no de ajo so na emom no ya maye muso a obi abaka kodi ne wurachi na ya de akọ sanity
mampani dada John Ajekum Kufo na onsusochia.
And you're watching the live telecast on TV3 of the departed Asantehemaa and Nakunedu Yadom III, as we have the Dotiye, the final funeral rites of the late Asantehemaa. We stand with Asantehemaa, and we have seen a number of dignitaries coming to Mensha to pay their respects to the Asantehemaa as well, to greet the Asantehene who is currently sitting in state. So we have now just leaving, the former president of the Republic of Ghana, John Agyekum Kufuor, former President John Agyekum Kufuor, who is currently descending the stairs as he's gone to greet. We earlier saw the entourage by the former president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, come to greet the Asantehemaa. We also have seen the president, John Dramani Mahama, also come to greet along with his entourage. I saw earlier we saw the chief of staff also as part of it, and members of the government, including the Works and Housing Minister, as well the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Mwakohene, also joining that earlier. So we now see dignitaries currently making their way to see or to greet the Asantehemaa. Currently in shot, I believe the MP for Weja Bawe, also now attempting to go through the procedure to greet officially the Asantehemaa. And this is all a part of the final funeral rites that are currently underway at Minshia for Nana Akufo-Addo III, who is the late Asantehemaa. Bringing all of this live to you on TV3. We have a lot of notable personalities that are making their way there, including the Queen Mothers and the chiefs across Asantehemaa as they make their way to pay homage to Asantehemaa today. It's going to be a lot of dignitaries that are going to be making their way, today being the climax of the week-long declared state of mourning that we have had, and the different activities that have been happening daily. We have some members of the New Patriotic Party who are currently greeting the Asantehemaa as they also make their way to pay their respects to the the late Asantehemaa. She died on August 7th, after reigning for 8 years on the stool. This has been, a series of events that have been going on since morning. And as part of the preparations, a ban was imposed on all funeral activities in Asantehemaa starting from September 2nd until after the burial on September 18th. And of course, we have Paul Afoko of the MPP currently greeting the Otumfo, the former chairman of the MPP currently greeting the Otumfo now on your screen. And this would follow a number of former government, and as well members of political parties that will be making their way today. Now greeting, we have we have a number. So I think Dr. Baumia is currently making his way, has greeted the Otumfo, the former vice president, and we now have the former second lady, Hajia Samira Baumia, also greeting the Otumfo now. We will be seeing the rest of their entourage that will be greeting the Otumfo very shortly. We have members of the MPP delegation and members of Dr. Baumia's team who are also going to be making their way to the dais to be greeting the Otumfo as part of today's final funeral rites to climax it. We currently have Abu Jinapor currently on the screen. He's a former minister of the Republic of Ghana, was former lands and natural resource minister, and we see him making his way to, or in talks now with the Otumfo, sharing his commiserations to him and greeting as well. We are seeing quite a number of government dignitaries making their way today to greet the Otumfo as a part of their marking or giving respect to Asantehemaa as we mourn the Asantehemaa Nana Akufo-Addo III. We'll be bringing you a bit more of some of the dignitaries that are currently greeting the Otumfo as part of the long list of dignitaries that will be making their way to Minshia this afternoon. Well, we are seeing quite a number of government dignitaries making their way today to greet So currently, live pictures coming to you from Kumasi, Minsha to be specific, where we see a long list of dignitaries, both from the political divide, from members of business, members of industry, all making their way to Minsha. Currently, we can see quite a bit of a long line of the different dignitaries who will be making their way to greet. I see Vice Osei Kofo, former Ghana Post CEO who served in the MPP government, also making his way to greet. We'll also be joined very shortly by historian Kweku Darko Accra, who will be giving us a bit of an explainer of some of the ceremonies that have been ongoing over the last few days and what to expect as we get towards the evening. So that is Dr. Baumia greeting the general populace that have gathered at Minsha this afternoon, and we will be getting into a few more of the dignitaries that have been that have gathered to be a part of today's dossier or final funeral rites of the late Asantehemaa.
Yade obuo ni die manu ntino yene a yase yewura ene eye Asantehemaa da ene ye de ejam na Asantehemaa na yakopɛ no krabɛ dia ene ɛho nkohia se yebepia bonten ne abetwitwa nkrofo anamu de fira no pa ne ba nyina wo hwɛ de na ɛkɔso a na kroma ye din ene se ye ɛhyɛn kra na apɛ bi ɛde akɔ baabi a na ayɛ den sɛnyɛ wa wode na abetu a na kyɛ sɛ ayɛ asɛm foforɔ enti nyame adom a efiri nonson ɛkɔ ne deɛ ɛno deɛ ɛyɛ nhyɛ a nananom ame ate aseɛ amanneɛ ne nneɛma ɛbɛkɔ so ɛne hyɛ a wɔsi ahyɛ ho so yie no kwasɛm mu ne sɛdeɛ tete no na yɛteɛ ɛna yɛkɔ akɔsie ɔhene anaasɛ hema ɛsɛ ɔne yɛ twatire ne saa nneɛma no saa nneɛma no nyinaa no ɛma nkurɔfo ɛyɛ nkeka ɛnɛ yɛ ni hɔ na mmom amammerɛ ne amanne aba bɛhyɛ anan mu a ɛhyɛ mu kena na amamanfoɔ bi afa ho a ɛyɛ na ɔmode di bɔne enti ma aba nhyɛ fie sɛ ɔba mu baabi a wɔ biara no nɔnsom bɔ wo a na te sɛ deɛ lockdown wakye wɔ no kwambafo abrɔnyɛ no kwambafo abrɔnyɛ ɛna abɛsen kɔ no nti Marco
na kria kasa abrɔnyɛ nko otwa mu o ɛna nana ma ne sign sɛ wɔmra no no so wɔmakyia no wagye afutuo kakra nani ada hɔ kakra South Asia duru baabi a na wɔsɛ biribi yɛ biribi na biribi tumi yɛ biribi saa pɛpɛɛpɛ nti sɛ sɛ deɛ ɛyɛ nkyia no a ɛna yɛwura ogusuada na afei wɔgyeɛ ɛsan sɛ ɛyɛ ne nuabaa ne mpɔn ɛna meka sɛ ɛnɛ wɔkɔ akura yi nti dɔte yie no ada obi bia de sɛ Asantehemaa na anya Asantehemaa yɛ ne abre papaapa yɛsɛ ne bre soja enka abɛwunu sɛ no kwasɛm sɛ yɛ ne no ɛyɛ kɔ nti aman hene kyia obi akyia
metimi dia ka wono sɛ.
And yes, you are tuned in to TV3, where we have the visuals live from Minsha of the final funeral rites or the dossier of Nana Kunedu Yadom III, the late Asantehemaa. My name is Aja Kwako Sapon, and here seated, dressed in mourning, because I stand with Asantehemaa as a daughter and princess of Asantehemaa, to give our commiserations from all of us here at Media General. But it's time for us to get an understanding of some of the ceremonies, some of the visuals we've seen all week since the 4-day state funeral or the four-day funeral began on Monday, and what we can expect over the next few hours till it culminates in the evening with her burial at Bremen Mausoleum. Now, joining me to speak on that and give us a bit more insight on what has been going on since her death was first announced, we shall have historian Kweku Danko Ankra joining me here. Kweku, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And it's good to see you today, but it would have been under better circumstances, but we shall take what we're giving. But do tell us, from the August 7th, when this was announced, till now, what are the first few processes that happen when an Asantehemaa passes?
Yeah, thank you very much. So normally, because it's a royalty, what it is that first the announcement ought to be made to the Asantehemaa, who traditionally will say it's either the mother or the sister of the Queen Mother. In this,
and in this case, that's his actual biological sister. Yeah.
So that is how it happens. And so when he is informed, no one else ought to come out to out the information about the death.
Okay.
That is in tandem with traditions, because who best ought to hear about the death of in relative rather than the person who is either the parent or closer to them. In tree, we say it's the person who is the skin, some sort of thing, so it's closer. But you know the modernity, people will hear and they do not want to adhere to traditional means of doing things. And in the era of race for news, now the social media, so any little rain, people want to be the first people to broadcast, and this is not acceptable at all, irrespective of how we think we are modernized and so on. And we see these contestations going on, people trying to say, hey, to hell with the traditions, and here is the new day. But that's not it.
Absolutely.
Or does not mean that it cannot also go through certain transformations. So we understand the transformation. When it came, in the past, it would have been gong, which would be beaten within the vicinity to notify the community. And then the carriers of messages will send it to the various communities. Today, we have the media. One press release can be relayed throughout anywhere it's supposed to be, and that sort of thing. So what happened is that the Asantehene will be informed. Traditional processes that ought to be done, ritual performances on the body and so on, and various communications will be given to various divisional chiefs that of all forms part of the Asantehemaa and so on. And then a day will be planned for the funeral. And it is in days, because in those days we don't have motorable transports like car, aeroplane, and so on. So people will be coming from far to come and participate in this funeral. So you need to give in days so people can move from their communities. And then by the time they reach the capital for this important funeral, then 2-3 days or more would have offered them opportunity to walk from that long distance to be in the capital of Kumasi for the actual burial to take place.
So that's how traditionally it would have been. So after the Asantehene announced at the Emergency Asantehemaa Council meeting, the council meeting at Mainshia on Monday, August 11th, that's when we officially got to know, formally got to know that a big Iroko tree had fallen, and Asantehemaa is no more with us on this physical realm or plane. Now, the 1 week was celebrated, or the traditional 1 week was celebrated on Thursday, August 21st, and now we have the funeral rites. What would we typically see at a 1 week of an Asantehemaa?
So the 1 week is full of ritual performances with regards to Asante traditions and culture. These are done because normally royalty funerals are different from ordinary persons.
In what way?
So in terms of, let's say, how the places that the person is going to be laid, people that ought to be notified to be available on that important day. It's not everybody that will have opportunity to come on that day, because I have been noble, the sort of nobility funeral. And in this kind of thing, the ritual performances of trying to link the physical to the metaphysical or the spiritual realm, all the performance they need to notify the ancestors about what to be done. So these are performed it's a performative act. You see in people carrying the stakes and all the showmanship that goes on are done to give the person the needed recognition as befitting that person's state before he died. And so while these things are being done, it is also to notify the community, because mind you, the action of a rempe will be triggered. When we say rempe, in those days, we call the ohene, okay? Because it's ohene, it means in Twi language, it's from the word ohe and ni. So ohe means the boundary. Ni, the one who owns the boundary. So the one who owns the boundary says his relation has died. Is coming to perform. During that space, there must be quietness. Okay. On the period of barrier, people must not go to market, because the land that you are saying, mind you, you are a visitor on that land. He allocated the land for you. He said, give me opportunity, quietness, so that I can bury my dead, and so on. So during all these ritual performances, people are notified of the aftermath and what to be done. So you don't come and say, a prior caution was not given to you, and so on. So on that day, you go to market and sell, and so on. So these Akan ritual performances are there, but in Ashanti, they take it serious, because this is a kingdom with people coming from many places, and things ought to be done right way. And trust the Ashantis to enforce some of these traditions, the procedures and the ritual performances that ought to be laid down before the prior burial at Bremen.
Okay. Now, on our screens now, we see some notable Ghanaian businessmen, Dr. Sir Kwame Despite and Dr. Ernest Ofori Sapon as well, who are joining there. Earlier on, we had the Bank of Ghana Governor, Dr. Johnson Esiama, also come to pay his respects to the Otumfo. And we're seeing notable government, business, and sectorial ministers and heads of agencies also coming in. Just on your screens there, we also see Samia Oku, who was former National Lotteries head, also a member of Parliament, and also giving his commiserations and greeting the Asantehemaa. But coming to Kwekudako, looking at the order in which people are going, some people are giving access to go and greet the Asantehemaa. Others are asked to greet from afar. What is the modalities in that?
So what is this is the you see. So even as the chiefs were coming, you see the sizes of their umbrella.
Yes.
And some of the dance, some will perform certain dance, and even their drums.
Yeah.
You see some of the drums are bigger than some. It shows you in order of importance.
Okay.
And how the funeral planners also did it. So maybe somebody belong closer to the stool, but this is his own kin. He has been visiting every day. So the coming there is nothing extraordinary. So if they give that person opportunity to stay afar and do that, this is nothing new, because tomorrow you can easily go to the palace and have every interaction you have to do. So no need to slow down the pace. So those who are coming from outside and they have vetted to be persons who, some of them are for the first time greeting.
Right.
So you need to give them opportunity to do all these kind of things.
Absolutely. So the Asantehemaa will be sitting in state during the funeral rites to receive delegation and mourners. This aspect of the funeral underscores the unity of the kingdom and reaffirms continuity in traditional authority. Now, let's walk through the last few days and how does it begin? What observations or what sort of ceremonies are happening from Monday and what will be happening today, Thursday to climax?
So as I said from the beginning, they will show, first is about the announcement of the death that we see, and then all the ritual performances of going to pray, as well as the display of people bringing their stakes and what have you, because it is believed that those sticks that you see women are carrying and so on, and the load of things that they pack are things in the past. You see them loading from the villages, because people from all the tributary states as well as the territories of the Asantis will come in with their things to help in terms of cooking and any other chores that ought to be done during the period. So these were the things that will be done. And there are some that you and I will not even see, which is the ritual performances that are performed behind the scenes.
Right.
Those ones, even the cameras will not go there because that's why we call it kusum. You see, that kusum tradition that will go on there between the close family relatives and then the dead and so on. So these are the things that we have seen over the week. And today itself is the opportunity where the chief will come in those days called Jebrim, or among the family they call it Deportation, the opening space where they will come and then the king will sit and welcome all the guests that have come to commiserate with him on the occasion of the death of the mother or the sister. In this regard, the sister.
Okay, well, we also saw earlier on the businessman Ibrahim Mahama, also brother to the president, greet the Asantehemaa. We also see Honorable Collins Dauda, member of parliament for Stufi South, also going to greet the Asantehemaa. And then we have some members of traditional authority across Asantehemaa also there at the grounds at Mincha for the final burial rites of Nana Kunedu Yadom the 14th Asantehemaa. Now, Kweku, is there a scheme in which the chiefs will be arranged? Is it going to be in terms of traditional areas? Is it going to be in terms of constituency? How would the arrangement, do we know how the arrangements will be like?
Yes, so they have the FECU, the groups. So if it is a Komu group, it is the head chief. So ordinarily, if the late Mamfohene is there, we know him to be the second in command, and he will be leading and so on. So as you see, the silver stool. So as you see, everything is well arranged. The heads of every FECU are leading their people. That is why you see them come with entourage. So anyone sitting either on the right or the left side or in the straight side have their FECU behind them. And this is clearly guided and they abide by them. So that some people cannot interrupt the ordered way of doing things. And that also helps in the street movement of people up to how they can go straight to Otekokoswo.
Okay. Now, we also see some more members of the traditional authority or the different chiefs, paramount chiefs that are making their way to greet their Asantehemaa as well. Now, in this way, is there because earlier is there a specific dress code to be fair on what is worn where? Because I know sometimes even the colors have to be arranged in a certain pattern.
So you see, this is a hierarchy of orders. In any moment when Asantehemaa sits down, there is a saying that Osonso then had one mind. No matter how, so you see it symbolized by a deer standing on top of an elephant, trying to show that no matter how big you are, even as a territorial member, what you have and everything cannot overshadow that of the Asantehemaa. So it means that on this day, arrangement is made on the code of dress that will be sent there. And you cannot dress more expensive than the Asantehemaa. Right. You can't go there with your gold ornaments and things to display that you are rich than your overlord. So in this way, by bringing the code of dress and things or the apparels that ought to go with it will inform how that order of hierarchy is also maintained within this ritual space.
Wow, okay. Now, what have been the different, what are some of the observations or some of the things that are observed each day? Because each day has been sort of, in terms of the kind of people that were giving the chance to come, each day had its own sort of guest list of people that were expected at Mincha for the final burial rites. Now, what are some of the different notable things each day since Monday till now? And what is one of the things we should look forward to the most today for the final burial rites?
So what is that some of the chiefs who are close. So you know it will be overcrowded. Imagine all the people under the Asante territory.
It can't contain.
All coming the whole day. And now we have modern states. So back in the day, it is about only the Asante state and some.
Now we have visitors from all over.
Now we have all over. Even the government officials. You see the politicians from various political parties. They also want to participate. You have the clergy. They will also want to be there. And now you were mentioning a lot of businessmen who are also the new bourgeois, which back in the day in Asantehemaa, who they would have become the Abrempong, who the new money. They will also be going there to show their prowess. So now the list is so big. So these are some of the those of us who study we call the change and continuities that are within this funeral. How the days have been prolonged to enable some of the people to pay homage, so that on that very day, the Dotiye day that ought to be buried, people that are also allowed. And this is for order of smooth funeral arrangements. And that is what, other than that, in the past, sometimes they used to do it, all the important chiefs will come after various days and all the performances that on that day important day, all the major chiefs from all walks of life within the day. But now you can't do that. So you have to find a way of arranging. So this modern arrangement is a little bit different from what used to be in the past, because now we have a bigger Ashanti. You have also a Ghanaian modern state. And mind you, some people are even coming from outside the country to also participate in this important funeral.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. We are going to go for a quick break. We will be back with a bit more understanding of the different historical perspectives, the traditions that will be observed today for the final burial rites of Nana Konadu Yadom III. Don't forget, afternoon show with your favorite duo will also be continuing very shortly. But all of this will be coming to you live right here on TV3. And we're going to go for a quick break. When we come back, even more right here.
Welcome to the show. And as always, we come your way from 1 to 3 p.m. right here on TV3. And today, rather sadly, we're in the spirit of mourning with the whole of Asantehemaa. And earlier, AJ Akwaku-Sapong was bringing you updates from Menchia regarding dignitaries and, of course, bringing you some history as well. My name is Anita Ikia Ikufa. I do the afternoon show with...
Of course, with Godwin Nambo. And like Anita rightly said, we are seeing the proceedings of the final funeral rites of Nana Kunedu Yadom III happening in Asantehemaa right now, or Menchia, like Anita said. But we still have to bring you the